I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 155 of the Featured Template Hair podcast. It is a very hot week, 4th of July week here in the Northeast. So, those of you who have been going through this heat wave, I hope you are doing all right. It's not too bad here in northern Vermont. It's the high 80s, which is making everyone panic. But I know that it's like well over 100 in my old home in Philadelphia. So all of you who are sweltering, I hope you are taking good care. So today I want to talk about a number that sounds unreachable to many therapists. $20,000 on therapy in 1 month. That feels, certainly I think we've all heard people talk about it on the internet and on social media, and for a lot of us, we're like, that's just not possible. But I am here to tell you that it is possible and that I have seen it happen numerous times and many times recently. Of course, if you are working in your traditional private practice model, 20 to 25 back to back 50-minute sessions a week at $150 an hour, hearing someone talk about a 20K month sounds like a total myth. Or you're like, this person must be working so much that they are close to burnout. Can I even do the math? Let's see. I'm gonna quickly do it right now. Just looked it up on the calculator. If you're doing $150 an hour for a session, you would have to do 133 sessions in a month to make $20,000. 133 sessions is about 33 sessions a week. So yeah, that's wild. That's what it would take to make 20K. And for most people, that would be like absolutely not. I'm never doing that. And that's just to make it to 20K. So, you're sitting there thinking, how many hours would I have to sit in a chair to make that happen? That's how many. 33 unique clients, 33 unique sessions a week. But 20K is not only possible, it is happening right now for EMDR therapists, and it's not happening with that level of client care, that level of intense face-to-face client sessions. Just in the past few weeks, at least 5, I was just trying to think, at least 5 that I can think of the therapists I coach have reported hitting 20K months. One said 22,000, and one just closed out June at $27,000. Okay, and these are solo practitioners, not group practices. And they are not doing 33 clinical hours a week for 4 weeks straight. So these are the highest earning months that some of them have ever had. If some of them have had more than one of these, like of late. These are people most of whom I've been working with for around a year. Some I worked with, and they're now doing their own thing. Some people I've worked with the second time, but yeah, they are between 6 months and a year since they started working in theater. They're hitting these numbers, and I've also done it. Okay, I've also broken 20K, more than once. And so, what are they doing? What are we all doing? Of course, they are offering EMDR intensives. So, I'm going to talk a little bit today about what you actually need to be doing to be getting that 20K month. Take it from that's not possible, that's just something I see on social media, not real, to your actual reality, and without it totally burning you to the ground. So let's start with the most practical piece, which is money, right? So you get 20K months, you can't use that 150 an hour weekly model, right? Like I just, did the calculations for it. That would just crush you. It would certainly crush me. There's no way I could do that. You have to change your fee setting. That would change how you structure your practice. The therapists that I am talking about who are breaking that 20K are pricing their intensives at a premium rate because, of course, they provide an incredible transformation, and people pay this. People pay it and agree. I've heard someone say that they've had some clinicians sit with them and say that they've been paid twice as much for what they got. So, about $400 an hour, $800 an hour, right? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about at least $300 an hour that you're charging to break that 20K ceiling out, totally cracking. So instead of and then the other thing is, so there's that one thing, the intensive great desire. And instead of cramming their weeks with ongoing clients, they radically adjust their schedules. And this is something I work with every therapist on when I'm coaching them. What a lot of the coaching clients I work with end up doing is something like this. They transition the clients that they keep as ongoing clients to a bi-weekly model, where they see them usually for 2 hours every other week. Some do 90 minutes, but a lot do 2 hours. Of course, this deepens the clinical work. They actually, my coaching clients have said, they actually find the clients are making more progress, even though they're only meeting twice a month, because they have these longer sessions. And of course, now they're getting a lot of and time on their calendar, because of course, I'll talk about this in a second. Not every single one of their ongoing clients ends up staying, which might sound bad, but it's actually what you need to have happen to make this space work. Okay, so they've got their bi-weekly clients, and then they use that open space, that open week, to book one 15-hour EMDR intensive a month, and that's around $6,000. That's the model that I teach. That's what I charge. And so wrap your head around that, right? That's about $400 an hour. You weave in 1 or 2 of those a month. 2 is a lot, but sometimes that happens. And alongside your streamlined caseload, and suddenly you're clearing $20K. But to make room for this, you do have to make some hard choices. You have to transfer out weekly clients, not all of them, but some who are no longer a clinical fit or who don't fit into the structure. And it can feel really heavy to do that, of course. But protecting your time and capacity is exactly what allows you to do this, right? To build that $20K a month engine. This can be one of the most difficult parts for my coaching clients, because of course we are all incredibly ethical, feel very connected to our clients, feel a lot of the Catholic responsibility to them. And, there are ways to do this without feeling like you're doing something ethical, and certainly without being accused of that by your client. I craft an individual plan with each person I work with on how they're going to do this. And so that they feel comfortable with the changes they're making, they feel comfortable with how they're presenting it, and their clients feel prepared for whatever changes are coming. And then there's something that comes up a lot, which is the fear that their clients are going to be angry about this change. Let me tell you what I have seen time and time again, the therapists I've worked with. Therapists worry about it, and almost none of their clients are upset. Maybe 1 or 2, and often those are the clients, because the therapists are saying, okay, as of 3 months from now, I will only be seeing ongoing clients every other week for 2 hours, right? Often what happens is the clients who are upset about it are the ones that maybe weren't a great fit anyway. This is really something I have seen. I'm not just saying this. And of course, you have the freedom to say, well, there's this client that maybe I will keep on as a weekly client because, for whatever reason. You have that freedom to do so. But I think that the therapists are way more concerned about the response they're going to get than they really need to be, because really almost none of them are upset. Most are neutral, and many are even excited. They say, oh, that sounds great. I think that would be awesome. So just keep that in mind. And remember, with even 2-hour sessions, right, you're doing a price increase. You're not keeping it at your $150 an hour, whatever. So you're building in a financial cushion, because you are going to lose some clients. You need to lose some clients to make the schedule work. And you're likely even going to have some gain. You're going to be making more than you were. So that's going to help you during this process, which again is going to get you to that $20K. And like I said, the fears that the therapists have about how these changes are going to be received are almost always unfounded. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 clients will show some displeasure or anger, and usually there's another clinical reason for that. And the therapists decide what to do. But really, the change is not as upsetting for clients. It rarely is upsetting at all, as therapists anticipated for them. So we can talk numbers all day long, and structure of your practice all day long, but none of it matters. You're not going to do any of it if you're not working on your mindset, right? The biggest barrier to a 20K month is not marketing. It's the fear of making change. It's the fear of charging premium rates. It's the imposter syndrome. The fears of, am I being greedy? What will my colleagues think about me? Is anyone actually going to pay this? Will I actually be able to find intensive clients? Are my current clients going to be furious, right? Like I was just saying, when I change my model. So there's that. Those fears are all very real. And I would guess that those of you listening resonate with some, if not all of these. And the therapists who are getting $27K a month are not fearless. They're just doing it anyway. They know that this fear is there and they acknowledge it and they decide to believe in the value of what they're doing. They stop apologizing for wanting financial stability. They have honest conversations with their clients and they make business policies that they hold to firmly. They set those boundaries and they maintain them. And they get support. I'll talk about this in a little bit while they're doing this work. It's really, really hard to do this in isolation and without accountability from others who are doing similar work. Another big piece of the puzzle, and it's a little less sexy maybe than a 27K screenshot, but it's just as vital, and it's your back-end systems and policies. Just the other day, I was on a clinical consultation call with a therapist that I've worked with for a while, and she showed me the automated booking form that she's created. It's so cool. She set it up to be super, super clear about the different offers she has. She has a couple. She does ketamine as well as sort of more traditional EMDR, and it's very, very clear to clients what they're paying, what they're getting, how to, schedule, fee structure, deposits, her boundaries. Client can log on, get all the information they need about what they're doing, book it, get their package very, very clearly laid out for them. It integrates directly with her EHR so she doesn't overbook herself, handles payment collection, all that stuff. It's really beautiful. So coming up with a system that reflects your policies and enforces your policies is really helpful. And speaking of payment, let's talk about deposits. A lot of clinicians feel massive anxiety about asking for a large deposit up front to hold an intensive date. Most of the clinicians I work with charge between 25 to 50% deposit up front to reserve the intensive spot. You're setting aside basically a week of your clinical schedule for the month. So yeah, often these are planned, a few months in advance. You need those dates secured, and the money secures them. That firm deposit is vital for your financial security, right? And I will say, if a client balks at the deposit, that's just good data. Often it's a sign that they're not quite ready for an intensive right now, and they may come back to you. But the clients who are ready for the work usually do feel like they understand the investment and they get why you're doing the deposit. You don't get a lot of pushback if someone's really ready for this. And if you do a great job in your marketing and you're structured and your fees are very clear and they come to the convo call already knowing your fee structure, that's important too. And when you have these systems in place and you're getting your deposits, you can look at your calendar and have a better sense of what your income is going to be, a few months down the line. And guess what? Yes, this is true. This could happen. The time may come when someone asks for their deposit back, challenges your policy. And that's why not only should you have a deposit, but you need to have documentation and paperwork that's legal, that you've checked with your lawyer to support you if this happens. Know you've worked through all this in advance, and so that if you get challenged on it, you've got strict enforceable policies. Are those conversations comfortable? No. However, if you have done the work in advance, you're going to have the legal backing to support you. What else? You also need a rock solid foundation of clinical competence. When you sit down with a client for that 15-hour intensive, you don't want to be guessing what comes next, right? And this is why I have my client workbook that I use, which if you don't have a copy of already, please look in the show notes for the link to download that. It's free. My 22-page intensive client workbook, which they do before the first intensive day, and that really helps with treatment planning. You want to know all those advanced protocols, like how to work with structural dissociation, IFS-informed EMDR, pre-verbal trauma, working with perpetrators, interjects, all sorts of stuff, so that you can walk into that room with confidence and feel like you are ready for whatever comes up, because you don't always know. Often you don't know. And 15 hours is a long time. And when you're really in it with someone, sitting with them for multiple hours a day, a lot of stuff can emerge. That's the beauty of an intensive, but it's also the challenge. So go in there with confidence. And these are all skills and tools and protocols that I teach in any of my, in my on-demand course, in my group program, one-to-one. These are all things that you get when you work with me because I know how vital that is. And community. I really, really, really encourage you not to try to do this on your own. Every single one of the high earning therapists I've been talking about built their success inside a community. In my group coaching programs, in other coaching programs, in my alumni community, in one of my consultation groups. The group piece is so vital. Or working one-on-one with me, which then often translates into, go into one of my group containers after. It's surrounding yourself with other clinicians cheering you on and proving that these numbers, these 20K months that they're, that they're earning are possible and how to do it. I'm still in coaching and peer groups myself, always learning from other therapists because community totally expands your ceiling of what you think is possible. Your community will check your misconceptions, will challenge your imposter syndrome, will up-level everything you do, will say, hey, you were going to talk to that client about blah, blah, blah. Did you do it? And what happened? All of that stuff. I've seen it. It's magic. I've lived it. It's vital for this kind of up-leveling. Last thing, many of the therapists I work with, including the ones I'm talking about here, actually have the word intensives on their websites for months, maybe years. And do you know how many bookings they got from just having it on a website? Almost none. Okay. Simply having the idea or having a pretty web page does not usually move the needle. What actually pushed these therapists forward, what took them from, I want to offer intensives to these like record-breaking for them income months was proactive, paid, strategic support. Every single one of the therapists I'm talking about has invested in concrete premium coaching with a group or individual. Over the years, some of them have spent even tens of thousands of dollars to get the roadmaps, the scripts, the clinical guidance, the accountability, the structure. And every single one of them, myself absolutely included, I'm in this camp, will tell you that investment has paid itself back many, many times over. It feels like a lot to shell out, and it makes the difference. When you pay for expert support, you're not just buying information, you're buying speed. You're eliminating the expensive trial and error guesswork. You're stepping into a community that's curated with people who are doing what you want to be doing, stretching your definition of what's possible, and creating an immediate return on investment, just even that alone. One single intensive booking completely covers the cost of strategic support. It really does. $6,000 more than takes care of whatever you're investing and you're working with me. The cost of not investing is getting nowhere near those 20K months, right? So I want to leave you with this today. A 20K month is not a fluke reserved for a select few. It's a predictable, strategic result of changing your business model, mastering your clinical tools, upgrading your mindset, connected with like-minded people, and being willing to change because you've invested in your own growth. It's completely possible for you. If you're sitting there listening and thinking, I want this, but I can't figure this out on my own, I want the roadmap, I want the community that makes these 20K months smart, well, we should talk. I have lots of ways that I can support you with that. In the show notes, you'll see the link to book a free consultation call with me. You can talk about what you need to get your intensive model successfully off the ground and start realizing that 20K months are possible for you. Okay? So I hope that inspired you a little bit. I certainly know that a few years ago, a 20K month would have been something I just laughed at and said, that's not a real thing. That can't be possible. Certainly not just through clinical work. But I'm living it. I know other people who are doing it, and it's possible. So I just want to encourage you to think big because that's how you're going to get there. It's when we limit ourselves and we tell ourselves these things aren't possible. Of course, they're not going to happen if we tell them they're not possible because we will make all sorts of decisions that align with that view. But if we know that it is possible, we start believing it and we start acting as if it's possible, we will change our behavior. That's all there is to it, So thank you as always for tuning in. I hope you all are enjoying some rest and relaxation this summer in addition to getting some 20K months in. And I will speak to you next week. Take care. Bye.